Hey guys, how's it going? So, here we are at the River Raisin National Battlefield Park. Only problem, I forgot the government's in shutdown right now. So that means the building's closed. All the cool stuff inside, I can't see. And so I can't show you. But we are going on a little hike, and we're gonna see some cool stuff along the hike, hopefully. So I'm gonna go full documentary style with this video because it's a field. Beautiful as the field may be, there's not a whole lot to really look at and make it exciting to say like, hey look, I went down a rapid in my kayak, or here's different views from my kayak. It's a walking path, so full documentary coming forward.
In the summer of 1812, the calm rivers and farmland of southeastern Michigan became a war zone. This wasn't Europe's battlefield, it was America's frontier, and the fight for control of the Great Lakes had begun. Here, just west of the Detroit River, the young United States faced off against the British Empire and the powerful Native Confederation led by Tecumseh. These quiet grounds saw fierce fighting, desperate courage, and the kind of loss that would echo for generations. When war broke out, America had a bold plan: invade Canada and take control of the Great Lakes. General William Hull, the governor of the Michigan Territory, led his army north from Ohio. His men carved a rough military road through swamps and forests. We saw this previously in another video, Hull's Trace. But Hull's army was slow. The wilderness was unforgiving. His supply wagons sank in the mud, soldiers went hungry, and every trail was watched by native warriors loyal to Tecumseh and the British. Hull had hoped to strike first, but soon he found himself surrounded and outmatched. The invasion of Canada stalled, and the fighting came to Michigan soil. On August 5th in 1812, the Battle of Brownstown began. To open his supply line, Hull ordered Major Thomas Van Horn and 200 Kentucky militia to march south towards Frenchtown, through miles of dense forest and prairie near the small settlement of Brownstown. What they didn't know was that Tecumseh was waiting. Just after dawn, as the Americans moved along the trail, the woods erupted. Smoke filled the air, warriors hidden in the trees fired from every direction, then vanished back into the brush. Van Horn's militia panicked. Some tried to fight back, others broke and ran. In less than half an hour, 18 Americans lay dead, another dozen wounded, and their supplies lost. It wasn't a massive battle, but it was a devastating blow. Brownstown proved that the Americans didn't control the land, they were merely guests in it. Tecumseh's ambush shattered morale and cut off Hull's last hope for resupply. Within weeks, Hull would surrender Detroit to the British, which was one of the most humiliating defeats in early American history. From that point on, the people of Michigan lived under occupation until a new army returned the next winter. As snow blanketed the Great Lakes, General William Henry Harrison prepared to take back Detroit. Among his troops were hundreds of Kentuckians, angry, battle-scarred, and determined to avenge their fallen. Their target? A quiet French settlement along the River Raisin, near modern-day Monroe. But what began as a small victory there would become one of the darkest chapters of the entire war. On January 18, 1813, American forces under Colonels William Lewis and John Allen crossed the frozen River Raisin. They attacked the British and native defenders, driving them out after brutal house-to-house fighting. For the first time in months, victory. The men cheered, believing they'd turned the tide. They didn't know that hundreds of British and native reinforcements were already marching towards them. Four days later, before sunrise, Colonel Henry Proctor arrived with over 1,000 troops and several hundred native warriors. The air was bitter cold, the snow was red before the sun rose. British cannon fire ripped through the American lines. Those in the open fields, mostly Kentuckians, were cut down by grape shot and musket volleys. The rest fought desperately from behind fences and log cabins until they were out of ammunition. By mid-morning, it was over. Nearly 400 Americans were dead or wounded, and 547 were taken prisoner. Proctor promised the wounded would be protected, but when his army withdrew towards Fort Malden, the injured were left behind. Without Tecumseh's leadership that day, order broke down. Native warriors, angry and embittered, turned on the wounded, burning houses, dragging men to the snow, and killing dozens where they lay. When the news reached the frontier, it stunned the nation. The words, "Remember the Raisin," became a cry for vengeance, a call that echoed across the rest of the war. The River Raisin was the bloodiest battle ever fought on Michigan soil. For the people of Frenchtown, it destroyed homes and families. For the Native Confederation, it was a costly victory, one that would soon bring devastating retribution. Later that year, America struck back. Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry won the Battle of Lake Erie, retaking Detroit and pushing the British into Canada. There, Tecumseh would make his final stand and fall in battle at the Thames River in modern-day Ontario. With him died the dream of a united native homeland in the Great Lakes. Today, at the River Raisin National Battlefield Park, the land is quiet again. You can still trace the frozen riverbanks where the soldiers fought and fell. The monuments stand as silent witnesses, reminders of courage, tragedy, and sacrifice on Michigan soil. Standing here today, it's hard to imagine the sound of cannon fire echoing across these fields. But 2 centuries ago, this was the edge of a nation's survival. From Brownstown's ambush to the slaughter at River Raisin, these battles tested a young America's will and forged this frontier spirit that would define it. So when wind moves through these memorials, listen closely. You might still hear it whisper, "Remember Brownstown, remember the Raisin." For this is where Michigan's story is written, in courage, in blood, and in the frozen soil of 1813.